So, greetings everyone. Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe. I'd just like to read a very beautiful description of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan Party when he was on the way to see Chand Kazi. This is a description from Sri Caitanya bhagavata by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, Madhya-khanda Ch.23. The Lord's charming looks easily overshadowed the attractiveness of millions of cupids. I am at a loss to find the appropriate similes to describe the beauty of the Lord, yet I venture to do so by His mercy alone. Otherwise, who would dare to attempt such an impossible task? He glowed like a mountain of gold, his body being smeared with sandal paste, sometimes looked like the rising full moon. His curly dark tresses were decorated with fragrant malati garlands. A sweet smile clung intimately to his lips that could surely win the hearts of all the muses. Sandalwood tilak with a red dot of vermilion clearly adorned his beautiful broad forehead. Chanting the name of Hari, he raised his arms up in the sky and danced. The knee-length flower garland around his neck swayed with each movement. His upraised arms glistened like fine, tapering pillars of gold, and his body became drenched with the incessant flow of ecstatic tears from his lotus petal eyes. As the ecstatic feelings increased, the hairs of his body stood on end like the ever-fresh kadamba flower. His moist reddish lips were so exquisite. When they parted, they revealed a symmetrical set of pearl-like white teeth. The long arched eyebrows languished almost all the way to the beginning of his ears. His strong shoulders shamed the king of elephants, and his chest was broad and full. The Brahman thread hung loosely across his chest. Lakshmi Devi and Tulsi Devi constantly pray for the shelter of his lotus feet. The Supreme Lord wears his fine and clean clothes very artistically. The high nose is aristocratic, and the sinewy tendons of his neck give the impressions of being the neck of the king of the forest, strong and powerful. He towers over others, his long body well formed and beautifully proportionate, shining like a mountain of gold. Everyone looking at him commented on his divine and beautiful presence. The millions who milled around for this momentous occasion were very fortunate, and in spite of their large numbers, they all received the Lord's benediction by being able to see the Lord's exquisite transcendental face. They simply stared at him, irresistibly drawn to his beauty, and spontaneously exclaimed aloud the Lord's name as uncontrollable emotions welled up within their hearts. The citizens had nicely decorated their doorways with banana trees, water pots, mango leaves, and green coconuts. A ghee lamp flickered in every house, and an offering plate sat upon all the altars, holding yogurt, grains, and durva grass. All this happened as if at the command of an unseen voice. Out onto the streets, men, women, and children poured to join the congregation. All were intoxicated with sublime joy, oblivious to every other care. Seeing the carefree citizens leaving their houses unguarded, a thief thought to himself, "This is good opportunity for me to clean out the people's belongings." However, as time passed and the chanting entering his ears took effect, the thief lost his thieving tendencies and joined in with the others, joyously chanting Lord Hari's sweet transcendental name. The streets were strewn with puffed rice and coins thrown by the citizens as they watched the chanting procession passing by. Later they themselves joined the procession, and so the march swelled its numbers. One should not consider these descriptions as exaggerations. Such happenings are commonplace when the Supreme Lord is present. When Lord Krishna was in Dwarka, the Srimad Bhagavatam describes that in the twinkling of an eye, he made appear 900,000 palaces, all bedecked with jewels and marble. Again, in the Harivamsa, it is described that when Lord Krishna was enjoying water sports with the Yadus in the saltwater ocean that surrounds Dwarka, the entire ocean in a moment turned nectarine sweet. Now that very same Supreme Lord is present in Navadvip, almost unconscious with sublime bliss, dancing and chanting, so naturally all auspicious happenings are occurring. The ocean of people now surged forward in slow fluid motion like the current of the Ganga, which flowed beside them. They all danced and chanted, surrounding the dancing golden form of the Lord. Advaita Acharya, Haridas Thakur, Shivas Pandit, and other senior associates of the Lord led huge groups of dancing and chanting devotees, everyone exulting in the bliss of the Lord's presence. Those who previously could not sing were now singing with the sweetest melodious voices. The best singers surrounded the Lord: Murari, Mukunda, Mukundadatta, Ramai, Govinda, Vikreshwar, and Vasudev. Lord Nityananda and Gadadhar Pandit danced on either side of the Lord, completely submerged in divine bliss. The dancing and celebrating form of the Lord brought wonderment and exhilaration to the hearts of all who beheld his golden form. This was a magnificent sight. The dancers moved forward with rhythmic motions. Simultaneously, millions of burning torches also moved, their licking flames animated in a passionate dance. It was night, but the dancing figure of the Lord was clearly visible, as if bathed full moon light of autumn. Sometimes his body was covered with shining dust particles, and at other times he bathed his transcendental form in his cascading tears of ecstasy. The different ecstatic symptoms appeared in his body, sometimes shivering, sometimes profuse perspiration, again at other times horripilation. They changed like the seasons. The sound of the Lord's name reverberated throughout the universe. Haraya Namaha, Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Gopal Govindaram, Srimati Siddhan. Some devotees danced on their own, but there were many large groups of devotees dancing together, keeping time by clapping hands. Another wonderful sight was the innumerable devotees all carrying torches and oil containers. Navadvip was ringing with the sounds of sublime jubilation, as if the Lord's spiritual abode, Vaikuntha, had descended. Now the residents of Navadvip acquired the same characteristics as the residents of Vaikuntha. They all manifested 4 arms, but because they were so engrossed in the ecstasy of chanting and dancing, they did not even notice this divine transformation of their person. Engulfing all was the ever-increasing bliss of Vaikuntha. As they passed by the bank of the Ganga, Sri Caitanya, dancing in the midst, looked like Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, with a flute in his hand and a garland of wild flowers swinging around his neck. The devotees had never experienced the ecstasy of such a massive congregational chanting. They forgot their bodily identity, their tribulations. They sang, danced, and rolled upon the ground. Many persons became emboldened and made their views publicly heard. One said, "Where did that rascal Kazi go? Now if I just find him, I will sever his head." Others shouted out the names of certain atheistic persons and beat the ground, as if sealing their fate with a stroke. Some others even ran helter-skelter trying to locate them. There was no accounting the number of people singing or the number playing mridanga drums. Navadvip was flooded with the nectarine shower of Krishna Prem, so much so that even the eternal residents of Vaikuntha hankered for this bliss. Even Lord Ananta, Lord Shiva, and Lord Brahma really experienced this kind of joy. Sublime bliss had descended over the entire planet as the Lord danced with his associates and devotees. Anything inauspicious or impure found no place. This was the first major Nagar Sankirtan of the Lord. The procession moved on, but no one actually knew where they were going. There was just one resounding, all-pervading thunder of Lord Hari's name, piercing the coverings of the material world. The demigods with their associates came to have darshan of the Lord. When they saw Gauranga, they, like the humans, also became overwhelmed with transcendental joy. To avoid detection, dressed as humans, they mingled in with the crowd and with gusto joined in the singing and dancing. All the demigods were present: Brahma, Shiva, Varuna, Kuvera, Indra, Yamaraj, Soma, etc. Aware that everyone present was experiencing transcendental ecstasy, they accompanied the devotees, wanting more and more of the Lord's association. The humans and the demigods were chanting the Lord's holy name together. As the procession passed the nicely decorated uncountable houses, the marketplaces and large squares, one could understand that Navadvip was a very well populated and an opulent town. It was impossible to count the people that lived there. It seemed that because the Supreme Lord was to advent here, he had arranged for many, many people to live there and participate in his Sankirtan movement. Even the number of ladies who were chanting were so numerous that counting them would be futile. Everyone who saw the Lord dancing and chanting like a golden flash of lightning could not contain his heart and emotions. Even those with hearts of stone were moved to tears and fell to the ground upon receiving the Lord's shower of causeless mercy and hearing the sighs and sobs of sublime ecstasy from his devotees. As the Lord danced, constantly repeating Lord Hari's holy name, the garland of flowers about his beautiful neck swayed wildly. His beauty was breathtaking, the way the Brahman thread hung carelessly over his shoulders, the dhoti nicely pleated and neatly tucked into place, his golden frame covered with fine glimmering dust. Tears flowed in unrestrainedly from his lotus eyes, like the languid flow of the Mandakini Ganga of his heavenly planets. Who would have cared to see the moon after having seen the blooming lotus face of the Lord? Some of the teardrops clung to the cleft of his fine nose and shone like a string of white pearls. His glossy black locks, entwined with the garlands around his head, made a fine sight. The devotees prayed, "O Lord, please grant us this one desire, that we may hold this pastime within our hearts, birth after birth." In this manner the devotees were requesting benedictions from the Lord as the Lord continued his extraordinary pastime of dancing, surrounded by his intimate associates. The Lord knew how to inspire the devotees to join in, and he danced in reciprocation with the mood and movement of the devotees. The Lord of Vaikuntha danced as the devotees sang. "All of you come and sing, Hari Hari. Put fear aside, for the holy name, even though not chanted purely, will deliver you from birth and death." In humility, the author describes poetically Lord Chaitanya as he danced. Lord Vishvambara, the Lord of the universe, danced along the bank of the Ganga. The devotees eagerly covered themselves with the earth that carried the impressions of his lotus feet. Wonderful ecstatic symptoms manifested upon his person, and tears of nectar cascaded from his eyes. With a voice like the rumble of thunder, he chanted the name of Lord Hari. Smiling sweetly, he raised his arms and sang. His golden form was much more enchanting than that of Cupid. Charmingly dressed, his black curly hair was decorated with fresh and fragrant flower garlands. Upon seeing such beauty, the mind reeled as if afflicted by the 5 amorous arrows of Cupid. In complete bliss, Vishvambara moved about in a restless dance, intoxicated by the holy name. His body and limbs were perfectly shaped, their beauty enhanced by the decoration of sandalwood paste. The garland around his neck matched his love-inspired movements. The arch of his eyebrows was like the bow of Cupid, shooting arrows of enchantment. His teeth were pure, white, and glistened like pearls. His benign face was an ocean of mercy. How can one describe the many hundreds of ecstatic emotions that manifested in the Lord? Sometimes he shivered, sometimes he perspired, and sometimes tears fell from his eyes like rain. At times he bent his body in 3 places, just like Krishna, and appeared to play the flute with his fingers. He moved about like a maddened elephant, the cynosure of every eye. His Brahman thread decorated his broad chest, as if Anantashesh had taken that very thin form to serve his Lord. Lord Nityananda, Gadadhar Pandit, and all the intimate devotees danced beside him, and each time they looked at the Lord, they saw the Lord smiling back at them. By chanting his name, Lord Shiva became mad and, forgetting himself, staggers about naked. Lord Caitanya is dancing on the streets of Navadvip, performing the congregational chanting of the holy name. Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, enthralled by his beautiful dress and appearance, hankers constantly to touch and dress the black curly locks of the Supreme Lord, who, now absorbed in singing and dancing, rolls in the dust in ecstasy. Following him are his devotees, carrying millions of flaming torches, lighting up the world like the full moon. Not a soul present could refrain from chanting the Lord's holy name. This marvel Navadvip had never witnessed. The residents simply looked at one another and chanted, Hari, Hari. Lord Nityananda was always by the side of Vishwambar, and knowing his every mood, would capture the Lord in his arms to steady him whenever he swooned in ecstasy. One time, as Nityananda held him, Vishwambar slowly sat down in a meditative pose and, gleefully clapping his hands, began to loudly chant, Hari, Hari. He then began to speak with a childlike innocence. I am the Supreme Lord Narayan. I killed that demon Kamsa, and I deceived Bali Maharaj. I constructed that bridge over the ocean to Sri Lanka and killed the demon Ravan. I am Lord Ramachandra. In this manner, he revealed his actual supreme identity. Everyone does not understand this inconceivable esoteric truth, for it is inconceivable to the human mind. Yet, in the next moment, increasing the people's confusion, the Lord changed his mood completely and said with the utmost humility and meekness, O Lord, please grant me devotion at your lotus feet. Even if he were to put his toe to his mouth, whatever way the Lord acted stole one's mind. The Lord of Vaikuntha, Vishwambar, was dancing throughout the town of Navadvip. Actually, this town is the Shwetadvip of the spiritual world. In the Vedas, this will be explained. Amidst the countless mridanga drums, conch shells, and cymbals, and the chanting of the holy name, the Lord danced like the crushed jewel of a crown. All glory to the congregational chanting. All glory to Sri Vishwambar. All glory to the devotees of the Lord. Wherever I look, I see Sri Vishwambar drowning everyone in the nectar ocean of Krishna Prem. The procession sometimes moved fast, sometimes much slower, depending on how long the Lord danced in one place. The chanting was jubilant and echoed in the spiritual abode of Vaikuntha. The Lord, the cynosure of everyone, moved about like a maddened lion, intoxicated with the holy name. The procession passed many bathing places and proceeded towards Simulia. No one was tired. Millions were singing and dancing, and a million flaming torches made it difficult to discern whether it was night or midday. The people welcomed the procession with flowers and doorway decorations. As they passed each house, the demigods rained confetti of fragrant flowers. Mother Earth was thrilled with ecstasy as the Lord walked and danced upon her. She wanted the Lord to walk upon the softest of surfaces, so it appeared that she had collected and strewn flowers to cover the pathway, which thus resembled her most delicate skin. Srivas, Advaita, and Haridas were dancing in their own groups ahead of Lord Vishwambar. As the procession entered each new locality, people left their homes, running to see the Lord. They forgot family members and all other duties in their eagerness to see the beatific, moon-like face of the Supreme Soul of the entire creation. Without consciously realizing it, they were all being drawn automatically into the congregational chanting. Practically without noticing, they all became intoxicated with the holy name of Krishna. They began manifesting symptoms of supra-mundane joy. Some rolled on the ground, some made sounds with their mouth as if playing a musical instrument, and others were embracing anyone they met. They had become so inebriated by the chanting and dancing that many offered prostrated obeisances, falling to the ground like rods. Others caught the feet of the devotees, crying in ecstasy. One could hear many comments from different people. One said, "I am this Nimai Pandit. I have been assigned to deliver the entire world." Another commented, "I am Vaishnav from Shweta. Yet another remarked, "I am an eternal resident of Vaikuntha." Again someone else said, "Where is that rascal Kazi? I would crush his head if I could lay my hands on him." Incited by such comments, some ran as if trying to capture an atheist. They climbed trees and then jumping down angrily shouted, "I am death to a dozen atheists." Another said, "Can you hear me, O God of death? Tell me, where is your son, the sun god? The Lord of Vaikuntha, appearing as the son of Sachi, was just now here, chanting and dancing. He has flung open the floodgates of the holy name. The holy name that had bestowed upon the god of death, Yamaraj, the name Dharmaraj, as the upholder of religious principles, the holy name that had saved the worst of sinners, Ajamil, from the jaws of doom, was now being freely distributed by the Lord himself. Moreover, even those who would not chant the holy name could now at least hear it, and so reap the unlimited transcendental benefit. Chitragupta, the compiler of the good and evil deeds of a man in life, should be immediately informed that his records are to be thrown away. If he disobeys, stern action must be taken against him, for now every living entity is liberated and delivered. Varanasi has become one of the most important places of pilgrimage because there, Lord Shiva constantly chants the holy name of Krishna. The purest of devotees, the eternal residents of the spiritual abode, always chant the holy name. Lord Shiva has become worshipable by all the demigods and human beings because at every moment he is engaged in relishing the sweet nectar of the holy name. The name was now being heard by every living entity. So inspired, the devotees now warned all the atheists to discard their evil ways and take up the worship of Lord Vishvambar and the chanting of the holy name. If they refused, they would be destroyed. The devotees now loudly challenged the atheists to come forward and dare to halt their chanting of Krishna's holy name. They fisted the earth with great force, as if beating to pulp a recalcitrant atheist. The effects of chanting the holy name had so divinely enmaddened them that they were unaware of their words and actions. When the atheists saw that citizens of Navadvip had become mad with ecstasy, they began to bathe within with hate and envy. They got together and began conspiring. They said, "If the Kazi was to come right now, I would like to see where that Nimai Pandit would run to. What will happen to all their fanfare of dancing and singing? Where will they hide their banana trees, mango leaves, and rest of their decorations? As soon as Kazi hears their great commotion and sees their lit torches, he will immediately come, and they will have to jump into the Ganges to escape his wrath." One of them said, "Then I will place myself near a group, and in the stampede I will tie their necks together." Another said, "Then let us go and inform the Kazi." Someone objected to this, saying, "I see no logic in doing that." Another made his point strongly. "I can see only one logical thing to do. Let us go all together to those sentimentalists and loudly shout, 'The Kazi and his men are here.' Then they will quickly disperse." This was the jealous heart of the atheists were burning, while the devotees floated on clouds of ecstatic chanting and dancing. The devotees were looking so effulgent, decorated with sandalwood paste and flower garlands. They were so fully engrossed in the holy name that they became oblivious to everything as the Sankirtan proceeded towards Simulia. As the devotees chanted and danced, the Lord also chanted and danced right within their midst. The activities of devotees increased the Lord's ecstasy. No one could fathom how much water was contained within the lotus eyes of the Lord. Incessant tears cascaded in rivulets of pure nectarine water. Sometimes shivering so overcame the Lord that he laid uncontrollable upon the ground. Even Nityananda Prabhu was lamenting because he could not hold him still. When at that pinnacle of his ecstasy the Lord fell unconscious, then for a long time no life force could be found within him. This was the wonder of wonders. Excited talks went around amongst the citizens. They said, "This person must be the Supreme Lord Narayan himself." Another said, "He is so much like Narad or Prahlad or even Shukadev Goswami." Another answered, "Whoever he may be, he is certainly not an ordinary human being." The more critical and analytical said, "He is indeed a great devotee." Each one commented according to his level of understanding. Nimai was oblivious to everything. He was engrossed in the ecstasy of the holy name. As he lifted his arms chanting Hari, Hari, everyone around, by hearing the Lord, felt irresistibly drawn to him, and they all echoed loudly the Lord's name. Whichever direction the Lord chose, the entire congregation moved that way. The Lord was now heading towards the Qazi's house. The tumultuous sound of the chanting and revelry became clearly audible to the inmates of Qazi's palace. Hare Krishna. Jai 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 Gauranga.